have to get ready for our big event on October 29th. Our big Halloween, my birthday party, Halloween 1920s theme. You know, go onto the website, you know, Reform Gangsters and sign up. It's going to be a big event. Tommy's Flash is going to be there. Rita Giganti is going to be there. And check out our podcast, Reform Gangsters. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. Right, Tommy?
We also, we might as well let it out of the bag. We also have Leo Rossi, very accomplished actor, analyzed this, Halloween, The Accused. He wrote the Gotti movie with John Travolta. He also is the co-host of Deep Undercover with Joe Pistone, and he will be our special guest live.
That's right, at the event on October 29th. Also, you could join us on October 30th out in Ronkonkoma, live in the studio. Tickets are on sale at reformgangsters.com. It's going to be Leo Rossi, myself, and Tommy Flash. Once again, we're going to be filming the Reform Gangsters podcast. It should be a good time. So I hope to see you there.
Hi everybody, I'm Anthony Ruggiano and I have a few announcements to make. Life has been good since I recovered from cocaine addiction. I'm happy to say it's been coming up on 34 years that I'm clean. I also created an Anthony Ruggiano Jr. Recovery Helpline, and I'm going to give you that number right now. If you need help or you know someone that needs help, please call me. The number is 855-963-2113. I'm going to repeat that. It's 855-963-2113. So if someone you know or yourself needs help, please don't hesitate to call me. And in spite of giving back to society, I've been named an ambassador to Face the Music. Face the Music Foundation is a foundation that helps people that can't afford drug treatment and alcohol treatment. They provide scholarships for people to go into treatment. They actually pay for the treatment because not everybody has insurance. So unfortunately, there's some people out there suffering from addiction that can't afford to go to treatment. And so this foundation supplies the money for treatment, which is schooling and drug prevention and recovery. And treatment is very important because in my own personal story, if it wasn't for the treatment center I was lucky enough to go to, I would probably be dead right now, because that treatment center gave me the tools to recover. So this foundation affords people those tools to change their life.
My 29th birthday, I was with this guy, Mike DeVito, who unfortunately passed away now. He was a good friend of mine. He was with us. Then later on, he became a member of the Lucchese family. But at that time, we were together. It was my 29th birthday. It was me, him, and some female. And we were in the Surfside 3 Motel on Crosby Boulevard, which was owned by Vic Amuso. And his brother, actually, Vic Amuso's brother, actually lived in the hotel. And Vic Amuso at the time was the boss of the Lucchese family. And we were in there, and unfortunately, we were freebasing cocaine, and we had a torch. And the torch sort of caught on fire, and I dropped it on the floor. And when I dropped it on the floor, Mike stupidly kicked it under the bed. And when he kicked it under the bed went up in flames. And we grabbed all the stuff and we ran out of the room, and the bed was up, flames were hitting the ceiling. And we ran out of the room and we got in the car. And as we were driving down Crosby Boulevard, the fire engines were coming up Crosby Boulevard to the Surfside 3. They knew it was us, but they didn't know it was us. You know what I mean? Like the brother knew, like, you know, like the girl rented the room, but they always suspected I was in the room, but not Vic. Vic Amuso, he always pretty much liked me. He loved my father. He used to offer, when my father was in prison at the time, he always offered me money for my father. He even one time, my father had a proceeding going on to get out. And I ran into Vic Amuso on Crosby Boulevard, and he heard about it, and he told me I heard your father's going back to court. I said, yeah. He goes, well, listen, if he needs bail money, I don't care how much it is, 1 million, 2, 3 million. He goes, I don't care how much it is. If you need help to get your father out of jail, you come see me. That's how much he liked my father, Vic Amuso. And now he was the boss of the Lucchese family. And I thanked him. So they always, I think the brother knew I was there. But I never got in trouble for it. And they put it out. So that was my 29th birthday. Now I'm getting ready to turn 69, and now I'm clean 34 years. But those are the episodes that get you clean. You know what I mean? Those are the things that happen along the road of addiction that sort of bring you to a bottom. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been worse. I could have got killed over that. I mean, you know, here Vic Amuso owns the hotel, and I'm burning it down. I was getting ready to turn 25, and unfortunately, I was in Elmira State Penitentiary in upstate New York, Elmira, New York, doing my first bid in prison. I was at work, and I came back from work, and my cell was tossed. My cell was tossed. I had a one-man cell, and I came back from work. I worked in the hospital, actually. I worked in sick hall. I had a good job in Elmira. I worked in the sick hall unit. When inmates used to come in the morning on sick call to see the doctors or the nurses, I was there, and I used to, you know, line them up and keep trying and get, you know, whatever. That was my job. I worked in sick call, and I used to, and the reason why I took the job was because I could wear white jeans. So I was allowed to wear white jeans on the visits. So I was instead of wearing the greens, I used to wear white jeans on the visit. That's why I took the job. So anyway, to make a long story short, so it was coming up on my 25th birthday. I come back, my cell's tossed. I go in my cell, the gate locks, and there's a paper on my cell. They found 2 marijuana cigarettes and 6 marijuana seeds in my drawer. So what happened was I had a desk in my cell, and I used to roll joints in my desk drawer. So if the CO passed by the front of the bars, my hands, you know, and I had them taped under the drawer, and they found them. And they found the 6 pot seeds. So they locked me up, and I went to they used to call it an adjustment committee. That was like the board you had to go. They used to call it, and it was a lieutenant and a sergeant. And they gave me a 7-day keep lock, which meant I was locked in my cell for 7 days, no showers, no nothing. They used to bring me a bucket of hot water at night to get washed in. And I lost all my privileges for 30 days, no visits, no commissary, no yard. So my friend Benny Ventimiglia, who had life in prison, who did a contract killing in Howard Beach, was doing 25 life. He worked in the officers' mess hall. And on my 25th birthday, that morning, he came to my cell and he brought me all kinds of eggs and ham and egg sandwiches and all fresh rolls. And he stole them out of the officers' mess hall. And he sat outside my bars, and we had like a little birthday thing because I was locked up. That was my 25th birthday. My 50th birthday, I was in Schuylkill Federal Prison for my 50th birthday. And my friends had someone in the mess hall make a big birthday cake for me. And guys from all the other blocks came to my birthday to have my 50th birthday. So I spent my 25th birthday in prison. I spent my 50th birthday in prison. I spent my 29th birthday almost burning down the hotel, you know, and it's been a journey. So I had to surrender to Nassau County because the case was out of Nassau County. So I had to surrender 2 o'clock that afternoon. And I think the date was March 28th, 1978. John got straightened out that month. John was only home because he was on a furlough from Greenhaven, him and Angelo, to get straightened out. And so that morning I woke up and I went to father and son barbershop to get a haircut. And when I was in there, John Gotti and Angelo Kwok walked in. And John saw me, and he knew that afternoon I was turning myself in. And he goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, I'm getting a haircut. He goes, "Getting a haircut?" He goes, "You're going to jail this afternoon." He goes, "Go home to Alice and be with your wife." He said, "What are you doing here? What are you, crazy? Go home to Alice and be with your wife. What are you doing getting a haircut?" He goes, "You're going to jail this afternoon." And he paid for my haircut. And I went home. And then I saw him 2.5 years later. And, you know, I went home. My wife was upset, of course. You know, I was going away. And You know, we had a nice, beautiful apartment across the street from Friendly Frost. Remember Friendly Frost? We had an apartment right across the street from Friendly Frost, a beautiful apartment. We were only married a couple of months. We had gotten married that October. Now this is only November, December, January. This is only 4 months later, and I'm going to prison. But she knew I had this case pending. I don't know. I felt, you know, it didn't really, I wasn't upset or anything. It was just something that I had to do. You know, I just had to do it. I put everything in place. You know, she was going to go back and we were going to give up the apartment. She was going to go back, live with her parents, you know, and my father picked me up. My mother insisted that she came to court that day. She never came to court. My father would never take her. But that day, she insisted that she came to court. And they took me to court. They took me to, you know, don't forget, I had 5 other co-defendants I had. So it wasn't like I was turning myself in alone, you know, and we went and we took pot in with us. We sprinkled pot in our pants pockets and everything, because we knew the routine. We knew how we were going to get shut down and everything. So we knew how to sneak stuff in. So we sprinkled pot in our pockets and rolling paper and then we all got in the bullpen and we started rolling joints and smoking joints. They were screaming they stunk the whole place. You know, we were stupid kids, but I wasn't upset with it. My mother was upset. She was screaming, grabbing me. My father had to pull her off me when they handcuffed me to take me away. That was, you know, that was fucked up. But you know, listen, it was just like my father told me, it was part of the job. But that's all I knew, you know, that's all I knew, how to make a living. So and then when I went to jail in 91, that sort of bothered me. I sort of tried to give up the life when I got out. When I got out, I actually did go to work for a friend of mine who owned a guy that owned a vending company, who later, unfortunately, I extorted him and chased him and took his company. But at first I went to work for this vending company but the money, you know, I got enticed again. You know, I would work all day with this guy, you know, I was like sort of like his right-hand man, and I would go and, you know, and then I would go at night to the club and see my friend Frankie, my daughter's godfather, who's making thousands, banging out credit cards and all this stuff. And, you know, I'd go around all the wise guys and, you know, eventually I just gravitated back to that lifestyle because of the, you know, the money, actually, really, the greed, the money. And then I started making a lot of money. Because now I'm clean, you know, I'm not using no more, and I'm making a lot of money. You know, then I got out in 92, and that, you know, that's when I was working, and I gravitated back, and then I got proposed. So now I'm looking to get straightened out, and I started making a lot of money, and then I met my second wife, and I had my daughter. When my daughter was born, I was making crazy amounts of money, not selling drugs. I was doing everything but that. I guess I didn't want to sell drugs because I was like, it's crazy because I was shaking down drug dealers, but I wasn't selling drugs. I just justified it in my brain, I guess, that I wasn't selling them because I was in recovery, but I was taking money off them. So I don't know if that makes sense. It made sense to me at the time. So, you know, I'm 42 and I got arrested again. Now I got 2 kids. After that arrest, I sort of started staying away from everybody a little bit. I started like backing up a little bit. And I remember my father wanted me to do some stuff with Nicky, who was the acting boss at the time. And he would tell me, did you go see that guy this week? And I would say no. And he'd go, what do you mean you didn't go see him? You know, like he wanted, I don't know, what's that word, vicariously lived through me, I guess, you know? So I said, no, I didn't go see him. He goes, what do you mean you didn't go see him? You know, you got, you know, he wanted, and, you know, and then because he hooked me up with Joey Molina, who was the boss of Philadelphia. And I was taking messages back and forth from the Gambino family to Philadelphia. And another wise guy, Mikey Gow, told me one day, you know, what's wrong with your father? I said, what are you talking about? He goes, he's got you hanging out with the 2 hottest guys in the country, Joey Molina and Nicky Carrazza. He goes, you know, you're going to go to jail. You know that, right? I said, what do you want me to tell you, Mikey? What am I supposed to tell him? No? And sure enough, I went to jail. Yeah. And then when I was in jail doing a 2 to 4, I got indicted in Florida by the feds with Nicky Carrazza and all of them. And I went down there and I took 10 and I got 10 years. So I was pretty, you know, and then that's when I started making some changes mentally and everything. And then I did 8 years and 3 months. And I got out, and they sent for me. They were going to straighten, you know, then they gave me that whole spiel that I'm getting, you know, that I could sit down on my own. And they gave me the whole rundown that I'm getting, you know, all that. We're going to just wait for the ceremony, but everybody knows you go on, sit down. So in other words, I had the power and of being a made member. I just didn't have the ceremony. Like I was given permission to go on sit downs and represent myself. Like the word was out that I got approved. And all the families knew, which happens, they all approved me, and the word was out. They told me I didn't need any representation. This was a captain telling me I didn't need any representation. I could go on sit downs on my own. Everybody knows I'm their equal and all that. And so I didn't want to say no. So I was on the fence then. If I wanted it, if I didn't want it, but I was afraid to say no. Not afraid. I just didn't want anybody catching a delusion. And part of me still wanted to get straightened out. It was like, I was torn, you know what I mean? I was torn. Now this time I'm driving a truck. I loved it. I loved that fucking job. I was driving a truck, you know what I mean? I'm going, man, I should have done this 30 years ago. I'm in Manhattan, you know, and then I got arrested again. And I was back in MDC in Brooklyn. And I'm, you know, this is after doing 8 years and 3 months. I'm only home a year. And now I'm back in jail again. I'm going like, you know, it was just devastating. But it's all because, you know, I got clean. I mean, it all dates back to, you know, it all dates back to being in recovery, because that's the process of recovering from drugs also helps you to recover from other stuff. It's like when you're addicted, you don't really know how crazy you are. You don't really know how you don't know nothing. Like when I got clean and I'm hanging out with people now that were street guys that are working men now. They weren't street guys, mob guys, but they were street guys. They were robbing banks. They were, you know, they were criminals, you know, like my sponsor was a bank robber. You know what I mean? You know, they were stick-up guys. You know, they would get kids with balls that put their lives on the line to go get drugs. They weren't mobbed up like I was, but they knew all the what they did time, like they did time with John Gotti. I mean, they did a lot of time, these guys, and they knew a lot of wise guys, and they knew the life, but they weren't in the life. Now here they are. They all had good they all had jobs. Who became a counselor, who became, you know, they all had good jobs. Who was in the union, who was, so, you know, you put down the drug. When I put down the drugs, I realized I had no skills. I had no skills except the street. I didn't know how to fix anything. I didn't know how to build anything. My father never fixed anything. Anything broke in the house, he called Al Fusi up. That was his guy. That was his handyman. And he would come and fix it, paint, whatever had to be done. My father used to get flats. He used to leave the car in the street and take a cab home, or call somebody to come get him and go back the next day and send somebody back the next day to fix the flat. So when I got clean, you know, I realized I had no education. I had no skills. So all I knew was the street. So that's where I went. But you can't, you know, then you start making meetings and you start hanging out with people that got jobs and families. And I started going on vacations with these people and family vacations, and, you know, and I'm going to prison, they're not, you know, and then you start working some kind of steps. You go on like it's, because recovery is like a spiritual journey, you know, not religious. It's like a spiritual journey, and in spite of yourself, you start developing a conscience, I guess. I don't know, because I'm clean now. I'm working a little bit. I'm working, doing some step work, and you know, things started changing. You know, things that didn't faze me started rubbing me the wrong way. Like I didn't give a shit about anything. Like the guy I worked for, I extorted his company. I ran him out of New York. It didn't even faze me. You know what I mean? Credit cards, you know, banging out people's credit. I had a credit card fraud ring. It didn't faze me. Then all of a sudden, these things started like rubbing me the wrong way. And I'm standing there one day and I'm going like, why do I feel this way? It's the same way I felt when I was using. So, you know, things changed. And then I made a decision to completely change. And, you know,